Okay, welcome to this video on how I use the Elektron Monomachine with the SOMA Pulsar-23. So I guess starting off, it's about how I control the Pulsar-23 with the Monomachine. It's dead easy. The Monomachine has 6 synth tracks and it also has 6 MIDI tracks. So I can take the MIDI out from the Monomachine into the MIDI in on the Pulsar. And then I can map the first 4 channels of the Monomachine to just control the 4 different drum sounds on the Pulsar. So dead easy to set up. You just hold on to the learn button on the Pulsar, press a button, and that's it, mapped. I've already done this for the snare and the hats too. So I am set up to control Pulsar-23 using the Monomachine MIDI tracks. As simple as that. I have both the audio of this and the Pulsar going into my sound card there. But if you wanted to, you could also plug the Pulsar-23 into the Monomachine, take the input into it, and then maybe control it and use kind of the onboard effects in the Monomachine on the Pulsar. I'm not doing that today, but just to let you know that it is possible. So I'm going to get into the Monomachine kind of sound creation. I'm going to zoom the camera down a bit, so hopefully you'll be able to see kind of a bit better what's going on. Cool. So I'm going to start from an empty kit, or just starting from scratch. And typically how I kind of like to use this, so I've got 6 tracks. I'll make it kind of like a bass, maybe like a rhythmic texture, some sort of like kind of leady pad sounds, and then also the Monomachine. Some of the synth engines are effects tracks as well, so you can kind of incorporate effects into that as well. So we'll try to get into as much of that as possible, and hopefully have a little bit of a jam and show you kind of what the machine is capable of. So starting off from scratch, this is just the sine wave. I'm going to change the machine here. I'm going to select one of the FM machines. And these are kind of like my favorite ones. I'll go with the DYN one for now, for starters. And typically what I like to do is I kind of like to play around with some of the parameters just to kind of get a bit of a sound going. I'm just going to put some notes down. Obviously with the Elektron step sequencer, you can parameter lock different values to different steps, so you can start kind of playing around with that. I'm going to do is when you create a new kit, it automatically has filter key tracking enabled. Obviously with the Monomachine, they built the original one that had a big keyboard on it as well, which key tracking might work well in that kind of use case, but I prefer to turn it off. You can do that by going into the kit page, into assign, scrolling over to key, and I can see high pass filter and low pass filter are assigned to key tracking. I'm going to just turn that off. That'll give me a lot more control over the filter right now. So I don't like that note. I'm going to take that one out. So I'm going to take the cutoff of the filter all the way down. And then I can use the envelope to start to shape this. So this is kind of like envelope amount, I guess. WOFS. It's kind of like envelope amount, I guess. And then I have attack and decay controls. Okay, I'm just going to play around with this a bit more. Obviously got your amp envelope settings in the amplification page, and you've also got kind of access to distortion. So I'm going to take the hold and the decay down a bit. I just kind of want kind of a stabby type of bass sound just to kind of get started. Okay, happy enough with the filter sounds as well, just for now. We'll come back to this one. So the next track, I'm going to use the ENS machine, which I can find in S-Wave, ENS, and this is kind of like a chord type. You can get kind of chord type sounds in it. You've got 3 oscillators which you can kind of detune off each other. I like to just turn them all the way up to the top to start off with. So I'll get all these up to plus 12. You've got pulse width settings. Again, I'll have some of these more kind of sustained or held notes. I can also change the pitch per step as well, so if I just hold on to the key, it'll bring up this note editing kind of piano down here. So all these notes are set to C3 right now, which is okay. I might just leave them. Down this just for now. So what I'll do is I'll just leave the bass going, and I'll get like a drum track going in the background. So on the MIDI tracks, they're all set up by default to be the length of 1/16 of a note. I usually find for things like hi-hats, I like to kind of bring that down a bit. And kicks you can kind of leave it, but to show you. And obviously with the Elektron sequencer, you can change this per step as well. So let's say I want to have one of these notes to be a bit more longer. It's going to jump in, so that's kind of tying over on the bass note. There's a little kind of interaction going on there. Okay, let's take the volume down on some of these on the pulsar. Okay. And that's just to confirm, that's I've set that a parameter lock this on the MIDI note length. It's nothing to do with the release or anything like that, the settings on the pulsar. It's just being controlled by the sequencer on the Monomachine. So I guess what this means is that I can, with the pulsar, you can set up some like crazy patching with the patch cables. For this one, I just know that like when I program the sequence in the Monomachine, this step will always be a held note rather than an LFO kind of modulating anything on the Pulsar-23. So that's kind of how I like to do it. Okay. So on ENS, you can obviously have some wave settings. And I'm going to start to play around with some of the detune settings here as well. Just see if I can get a sound that I like. Real kind of science to this, just turning the knobs until I find something that I like. I like this held note here, so I'm going to repeat that on this step here. The filter, I'm going to take some of the low out of it. Tiny bit, just a touch. And with the filter controls as well, I don't really know what exactly these do, but I know that like by turning this one backwards, it's kind of subtracting for the filter cutoff. Okay, so I like that for now. And also, as I mentioned earlier, with the Monomachine on your 6 tracks, you can make any one of these 6 tracks into an FX track. So I'm going to do that now for this kind of ENS channel. So the effects that you have, you've got a through machine, which means that like you use this if you want to plug something into the inputs of the Monomachine. You've also got a reverb, a chorus, a dynamics, which is a compressor, a ring modulator, phaser and flanger. I like the chorus, so I'm going to use that. And the way that the effects tracks work, similar to many of the other Elektron boxes, is you have to put a step down in the sequencer to kind of let the sound flow through it. And what I'm also going to do is I'm going to turn the hold on this one all the way up so that the effect lasts the full 16 steps. You don't necessarily have to do that. You can get some really good effects by programming different steps with different values. We'll get into that a little bit later on. So for now, let's just play this with the chorus. Don't really like how much attack is going on there on the filter, so I'm going to bring that down. Okay, back into the chorus track. Playing with this parameter. So you can go kind of from subtle to fairly dramatic. And each of the tracks all have their own delay, their own filter, amp envelope, etc., and 3 LFOs. And that's no different for the effects tracks either. They have access to all of those parameters too. So with the effect, what I'm going to do with the chorus track, what I'm going to do is I'm going to just enable some delay. It'll be slightly subtle, but it'll make a little bit of a difference. And turn the feedback up, get some sound. Time down, maybe something like 32. And what I'll do is I'll also use a filter on the chorus page as well, just to take some of the lows out. So I'm obviously just using a 16-step sequence here. We can go all the way up to 64. And what I'll do is I'll just increase this to 32 for now, just to get some variation. ENS track, so I'll bring this one up. So that's track 1 is a kind of like a bass kind of stabby type sound. Not really entirely happy we'll keep going for now. So on track 4, I'm going to use the VO Synth, so it's like a vocal, like a speak and spell type thing. Oh. I like this one for doing kind of like rhythmic textures, that type of thing. So what I'll do is I'm going to put a note down on nearly every channel, every second. And set it like E4, which is kind of high, but what you can do is you can transpose things down, so just by transpose here. And I can transpose just this track or the entire pattern, so let's just... That's the entire pattern. I'm just going to do this VO Synth. But what it did show me was that perhaps these bass notes might benefit from being a lot lower. So I'll bring them down to C2 for now. I'll bring them all down to C2. Okay, let's see what happens here. Okay, bass is sounding a bit better. Okay, so I'm going to focus on making this VO6 sound a bit better too. So on the controls, you've got like VCO1, VCO2, the kind of the timbre or the tone of the voice itself, what consonant it's saying, and then you've got some other kind of feature or parameters here as well. So let's just play around with some of these. So this is obviously the letter or the consonant that says here. That's G, H, J, etc., etc. So what I'll do is I'm just gonna live record. So it doesn't really matter kind of what's happening because I'm gonna process it a bit more. I'm just gonna randomly turn some of these knobs. I generally find this is kind of like the best way of coming up with sounds. Just triggers, put in some notes into the sequencer, do live record, play with some of the parameters. You'll come up with the results that you would have never done had you like maybe done per step programming. I'm going to bring this down as well. And I'm going to put some delay on this one too. A short delay, maybe around 8. And I'm going to use the LFO. One of the LFOs to control the volume. And you've got loads of different shapes here and different options for the LFOs. So with this LFO, you've got you can use it to be either free running, so it syncs to the clock, so this is at 130 BPM, and it's going to go, it's at multiplied by 1, so it's going to go up and then down over the course of like the 32 steps. You can do it to trig, where it kind of starts on every trigger. In this case, it'll be every red trigger, so I'm going to leave it at that for now. And with all of the waves, you have like a lot of different waves, so triangle, saw, square, exponential, random, etc. And for every wave, you've also got the inverted version of that. So I'm going to use an inverted saw wave, controlling the volume. I'm going to turn that right up. It just means that like, okay, what's happening now is on every step, it's going to take the volume down. I'm going to turn the volume down for starters. Maybe I'll increase the multiplication of that one, maybe up to like, maybe if delay is a bit much. Bring that down a bit. Okay, and then the filter. I'll use another LFO on the filter to do something. Okay, so I wanted to control the width of the filter. Again, I'm going to use an inverted version. Hear notes that I was talking about earlier. With the hi-hats, it's a lot more obvious. So on the length, it's just kind of like a sustained note, which is kind of cool because obviously with the pulsar, with the pulsar, it's obviously we've got lots of options here, and it might be good to kind of do some like sound design stuff with the longer notes. So that's kind of cool, but like I just want like a hi-hat, so I'm just going to put the length at the very minimum. That's kind of hi-hatty to me. You've obviously got two EQs per channel, a high EQ and a low EQ. So I'm going to take down the low, turn it to high on this one. I'm going to take the sample rate reduction up as well, just to kind of really dirty it up. Use some additional kind of delay parameters, which I'm not exactly sure what they do, but they kind of add a bit of something to it. We'll move on. So we've got bass kind of stabby sound on channel 1, ENS on channel 2, effect on channel 3, the VO on channel 4, which leaves us with kind of 2 channels. What I might do is let's go into the wavetable. And again, I'm going to kind of use this as more of a kind of a texture backgroundy type thing. Or not, maybe not, I don't know. So obviously this is the waves, and this is that you can scroll through the wave table. The distortion has a huge impact on the overall level of the sound, so if you are turning the distortion up, maybe just kind of lower the volume down slightly to compensate for it. It does add a lot though, in my opinion. Just do kind of like a long sustained note on this one, just down to like the zeros. Yeah. Turn this hold all the way up. Let the filter breathe a bit more too. What I'll do is on the LFO, go to the app page, volume. I'm going to try just kind of duck the volume down using inverted triangle LFO. Okay, let's just lower this down a bit. Let's speed that up a bit. So what we can also do is, what I've been programming so far is like triggering a full trigger, which does like the you know, the pitch and filter and LFO. But you've also got access to these kind of settings here, which is you can just do amp triggers, filter triggers, or LFO triggers. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just put one here, turn it into an LFO. I'm going to increase this up. I'm not sure if that's doing exactly what I want it to do, but anyway. And I'll bring this down. I'm going to do this again. Waves of the different steps, a bit more interesting. Also program different like filter settings and stuff. Okay, so I wasn't too happy with the ENS one. Doesn't sound great. Turn off the chorus for now. This sequence, and what I'm going to do is actually, so we can, the Monomachine's got a cool arpeggiator on it, so let's maybe try an arpeggiated pattern instead on this one. Oh, I need to turn these back on. Alright, so let's go P3, and the way I can turn the arpeggiator on here, just with function and arp, and I can turn it to key. Obviously that's just going to be one note in a repeated arpeggiated pattern, and you got different range, so I can do make it jump up or down, up 4 octaves. But I'll just actually program in a chord or a group of notes. So you do that by holding on to the trigger. It opens up your piano roll thing again down in the bottom corner, and if you press up or down, you can add more notes. So you'll see here +1, it just goes +1, like one key up on the keyboard. I like to do this by the numbers, so I'll just kind of go, I'll go +5, which is B and E, and I'll go +10. Still not great, but so that's just one note spread across, and that'll keep going. What I'll do is I'll copy this here and I'll change the note values. So when you press the right or left arrow, it'll move all the notes relative to each other, so it'll keep my 5 and 10 spacing. Also, what I like to do sometimes is I'll just put in a single note there. Kind of helps to break up the flow of the arpeggiator. One thing you can do, which I don't know if it's possible, but one thing that would have been really cool to do would have been parameter locking maybe some of the arpeggiator settings. But you can't do that. But with the arpeggiator, you do get you can access kind of the way that it works. So here you can kind of see this 8 steps playing, and I can remove some of these. Okay, so let's go with that for now. Turn the chorus back on.